cool. We're here. I used to sit way in the back, last row of this classroom, because I thought that the guest speakers were fucking boring. So boring, right? I just came to do the quiz at the end. I'm going to hold the quiz till the end, sorry. That's me, freshman year. About half a bottle of Burnett's Deep right there. One of the many pre-games. I'm kind of surprised that I keep getting asked to come back here, because I didn't really give a shit when I was here, right? They keep asking me to come back, and they keep saying, can you talk about your fancy career? Can you talk about all the wonderful steps you took to be really important? And I say, fuck that. It's so boring to hear about that. You guys come in here and you hear about people who take step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 to be these great people. They're in their 60s, they're wearing a tweed jacket, they got a PhD. Or they talk about turtles and they have a scarf on. Oh. I like to hear people do it. I'm just not doing it. I don't want to talk about career stuff because I don't think that your career success is that important. I just don't. I think that your life is important, which is a very cliche and corny thing to say. But your career fits into your life, not vice versa. And we spend so much time in these classrooms talking about what we can do to set you up for career success. And we don't spend nearly enough time talking about what we can do to set you up for life success. So I'm going to do exactly what I said and say, fuck that, talking about career stuff, and I'm going to talk about what goes on in the real world in your life. Because life-related things are far more important. So what are we going to talk about today if we're not going to talk about career then, yeah? We're going to talk about children's books. We're going to talk about panic attacks. We're going to talk about breakups. We're going to talk about South American bed bugs. They will make an appearance. You'll be surprised when. Life and death. We will cover that. Failure. Whatever the hell you guys want to talk about during the Q&A after this. And then we'll probably laugh, and I will most definitely cry because I do every single time I do this. And then we're going to talk about success. I do not understand what that word means. Success. Is that money? Is that looking good on LinkedIn? What is it? It is not money. It is not looking good on LinkedIn and having a perfect career. It is not living up to others' expectations, and it's not living up to your own expectations because they're usually completely misguided. It's not how you look on paper or how you look on Instagram or how you look on Facebook or what other people who don't really know you think about you. It's not about that. It's not about things going according to plan. I sat in this room in the back not paying attention because I thought I had a plan and it was going to go that way, and it doesn't. It never does. So success is something quite simple. It's just trying hard. Just giving it a fucking go. And then it's fucking up a lot. It's failing. It's falling down. It's not knowing what's going on. It's getting confused. It's not things going according to plan. And then the most important part about giving it a try and then falling down and messing up is liking yourself when you go through those down, when you do fuck up or fall down. And then you have to incorporate those as a part of your story. What do I mean when I say story? This is you. Kind of a weird outfit choice, but... And you have a story. I don't mean like a cool anecdote to tell, or that summer you were at band camp, or why you were in leadership club in high school or whatever. I mean a whole life story that starts when your parents met, did whatever they did to make you come alive, all the way until you're dead. And then, if you're really impressive, it goes on after you're dead. You have a whole life story. And most of you are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's going to go on for a lot longer than that. Good news is, you're the main character the whole way through. And I guarantee these 4 themes are going to happen over the course of that story. 1, you are going to struggle. 2, you have to do something about that struggle. Literally do anything. You just can't do nothing. You can't remain stagnant. You have to try something. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to have confidence. Because in the real world, people won't advocate for you. Here, the professors are paid to do that. You don't get that out there. You got to advocate for yourself. And through all those things, You were going to figure out what you were good at, and you're going to figure out what you were bad at, and you're going to stop doing the shit that you're bad at so often, and you're going to build a career or a life off of doing things that you're good at. So we have our character and we have our themes, and now we need a plot for our story. So I'm just going to steal it from somebody. It's all good writers do. The first time I did this talk in this class, I said, does anybody know who wrote this? Because if you do, I'll give you Starbucks mocha frappuccino or something. And then like everyone in the room knew, and I spent $800 at Starbucks. Man, I'm a word. This is Of the Places You'll Go. Probably half the people in this room got this as a high school graduation gift. Sorry, not that special. Art Geisel wrote it. His name's Dr. Seuss. He wrote it in 1991, the year I was born. It was the last book he wrote before he died. And it's for all shit. Do you have a tattoo?
Yeah, it's the sleeve of the whole, or a lot. Important parts.
You want to just come to the talk?
I'll let you.
No, you hold your arm out, and I'll just read your arm.
You seem pretty good at what you're doing.
Now, for commitment's sake, I gotta go get a fucking tattoo. That's dope. All right, that's dope. Last book that Art Geisel wrote before he died, Dr. Seuss. And a lot of people think it's a children's book. It's not. It's for adults. It's for adults. Ironically, children's books when you read it to a child, with like really, really fast and slow and exciting and turning pace, that's how people like to be spoken to. I think he hacked that. This book and its story is all about your entire life. It's for adults. So this is you, or in this case, me, at the start of college. And I don't really know you at all, so I'm just going to tell my story instead of yours. So congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places, you're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, and you can steer yourself whichever direction that you choose. Whichever direction. You're on your own and you know what you know, and you are the guy or the girl who will decide where to go. I had to kind of reach into the book a little bit. Dr. Seuss is a bit old. So my story is that I came to U of O in 2009 to be a sports writer. I only applied to one school, and it was this one because I like the Oregon Ducks. It's a pretty shitty reason to choose school. But I wanted to be a sports writer, and I figured they got good sports teams, so I'm going to come here. I got very lucky that my 4 years here were the Chip Kelly years, and we won a lot of football games. And I was part of the Daily Emerald, the newspaper, and I got to travel around and go to all the games, and I was very fortunate while I was here to be involved in that. I majored in journalism, which, do they still call it Super J here?
Yeah.
Is that the... Do you get like a cape when you're finished? That's the dumbest name, Super J. Minored in public speaking, critical reasoning, and writing, which basically meant I figured out how to argue out loud, then on paper. It's a cool minor if you guys can mess around with it. I applied for a lot of jobs, and I only had one job offer when I finished school. And it was for a newspaper in Minot, North Dakota. And you guys like cringe just hearing that. Is anybody in here from North Dakota? I've never once had anybody. Nobody? So oh, you have? Didn't even know there were people there, to be honest with you. The thing about North Dakota, in my humble opinion, is that it sucks. And didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. I was being offered $18,000 a year to go there. And in my head, I thought that was a ludicrous amount of money. I was like, damn, I'm going to be so rich. Because I know Pegasus pizza was like $2 a slice at the time. A rack of Keystone was like $14. Like, I can get a shit ton of things for 17, 18 grand. I called my dad, and my dad was like, you cannot live there on that. You're not going. So I was in a very privileged position where I turned down the only job offer that I had when I finished college. That's not how I was supposed to go? Wait a minute, I was supposed to have a fancy job. So I walked across that graduation stage without a job. Everybody else was off to greatness. I was like, what is going on? That's not fair. I'm sorry to say, but sadly it's true, that the bang-ups and the hang-ups, they can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on, and you'll be left in a lurch. These people are off to their internships in Santa Monica, and New York, and they're doing their whatever. And you're like, Mom, Dad, can I live at home this summer? It's going to happen to a lot of people in this room, probably half. It's a made-up statistic, I don't really know. After college, I thought it was going to be a conveyor belt. I thought I'd come out of here and they'd be like, here's your husband or your wife or whatever the hell you're into. Then here's your really fancy job over here. Oh yeah, here's your fancy New York City apartment. Things are going great. It's not a conveyor belt. You don't go freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's up to you in the real world. You got to figure that stuff out. There's no next level, right? So luckily, I got an internship at Adidas. And what had happened was 3 days after I graduated college, I got a call from Adidas. And they said, we love your videotape interview. We want you to come up here and interview again for the internship. And I said, that's wonderful. Except that I never did a video interview for Adidas. So apparently, some other Jackson Long did a killer video. I went up there and took his job. Somewhere in the world, that guy is like, nothing ever good happens. That's why I get karma hardcore in a minute, don't worry. I did my best to network while I was at Adidas. I was working in internal communications, which is basically writing a couple emails and getting people coffee, hanging out with celebrities, trying to connect. And I was trying to advocate to get a job at Adidas, but it just wasn't happening. I was trying to network with people in Portland, find a long-term gig, and it wasn't happening. So after 6 months, I headed home to California without a job, without an internship. And I've been dating this girl since college who lived on the other side of the country. And I got home a couple days before Christmas. And on Christmas Day, she rang me up and she said, I think we're going to be done now. So I got broken up with on Christmas Day. Didn't have an internship, didn't have a job. Was living at home in the room I grew up in. And I was like, this system is broken. I got a degree. What the fuck? I felt pretty lost. I didn't know what I was going to do next. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they are dark. A place that you can sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare stay out or do you dare go in? How much can you lose and how much can you win? I feel like I don't need this slide. I can just check out that guy's bicep. Turns out you can win a lot by daring to go in, daring to try something. So I made these 2 lists. I got a yellow legal pad of paper and I made 2 lists. One list, I wanted to be a sports writer, so I was like, got to go to a city that has a saturated sports market. What are the cities that have 5 professional sports franchises that are pretty notable? Boston was out, too expensive. New York was out, too expensive. LA was out. I'm going to make all of you mad. I don't like LA. I know that like 90% of you are from LA. Chicago was out because the girl that just broke my heart lived there and I was not going to go there. And lastly was Dallas. And I was like, all right, so I'll check out Dallas. So I made that second list and I listed out 250 media professionals in Dallas that I could ring up and tell them what I was looking for. And I called every single one of them. And I got a couple of meetings. 250 calls, about 50 callbacks, a dozen meetings. I went down to Dallas and I secured quite a bit of freelance, but nothing full-time. So I also got a job at the YMCA, folding towels. I was like, what? The system is still so broken. Why am I doing this? So I flew back to Sacramento. I gathered all my things. Sacramento's where I live in my childhood home. Gathered all my things, put them in the back of my Hyundai Elantra, and drove down to Dallas. And I went to meet up with my Craigslist roommate who I had never met before. And she failed to tell me that she was 5 months pregnant and the dude was not in the picture. So I went from being super lost to being a baby daddy in the span of a drive from Sacramento to Dallas. We're, 5 or 6 years later now, and that girl Veronica is one of my best friends, and her daughter, Sweet Pea Penelope, is my goddaughter. Every time, though. I used to have a picture of like me holding a little half Mexican, half white baby on my Tinder at the time. Like, it's cute. It's not mine, it's cute. I made a connection while I was down there, right? So I'm living with Veronica. I'm working as a server at a restaurant. I quit the YMCA. I'm doing some freelance. It's still not as fancy as the jobs that I thought I'd have, but I'm stringing together enough money to make rent. And I made this connection with this guy named Art Garcia, who wrote for USA Today, Yahoo, Reuters, some large publications. And he covered the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, the Rangers. And he said, sometimes I go out of town and I need somebody to cover for me. Do you think that you could be my substitute? Hell yeah! I'll get published in those? Hell yeah! So the next thing I know, I'm in USA Today. I'm in Yahoo, and things are going okay. Still making very little money. Still bringing ketchup to tables on the weekend. But I'm kind of on my way a little bit. And then the week before high school football season started in Texas, which I'm sure most of you know is a pretty big deal. The week before it started, I got a call from one of those people on the list that said, hey, I'm sorry I never called you back, but we just had our sports writer quit the week before the season. Do you want to be a full-time sports writer here? Yeah, I do. So I'm doing that. I'm also doing the serving thing. I'm also doing the freelance. You should be surprised all those things combined still isn't very much money at all. It's more than $18,000 in North Dakota though, so that's good. I'm doing all these things, and I thought I had figured life out. I was like, I got it. This makes sense. So I got invited back here to speak with you about 10 or 12 students. And I thought I knew everything. But I didn't know anything, honestly. I hadn't experienced anything. Now, I thought I had a handle on how to make it in the world. I was like, things are going pretty well. I got a lot of luck that went my way when I moved to Dallas. So I'm going to quit all my jobs, and I'm going to do it all over again. I'm going to drive all the way to Seattle and try it there. Right before I left, I met this girl in Dallas. And she was pretty cool, wasn't very serious. And I already said, I gotta leave, I gotta go to Seattle. So I got up there, and I got to this shitty apartment that I was in. And I had my first panic attack ever. I had no idea what anxiety was. I never felt that in my life. I got there and I went, holy shit, I just quit on all these jobs. I just turned my back on all this luck that I had. I just left this girl that I liked quite a bit. All these new friends that I made that cared about me, I pretty much said, I don't care about you, and left. I freaked out. I got sick all over the floor, shaking. And I made an irrational decision. I called the girl back in Dallas and said, I don't know what to do, I need to come back. I think I need to be with you. I think this means I'm supposed to be with you. And she said, yeah, you should. You should come back. So I was in Seattle for 2 days. I packed up all my shit in a car and drove all the way back to Dallas. The day I got back, she broke up with me. You know that guy who didn't get the job at Adidas, the other Jackson Long? He's like, yeah, motherfucker. My life fell apart. Made sense that she break up with me, of course. Why would a psycho have a freaking panic attack and then be like, I'm going to put all my eggs in the basket of you. I need you to guide me through life. I don't know you. What the fuck? Made sense. Well, my life spiraled. It fell apart. I looked back and I went, what is going on? I had a little bit of success. I threw it away. Now I've got these issues with anxiety. I don't know how to handle them. I don't know what they are. I thought I was weird, which, spoiler alert, you're not weird. It's normal. I was freaking out. That was the lowest low of my life. I started drinking all the time. I went to church for the first time since I was like 6 years old. Just trying to find solutions. I was on antidepressants. I was doing shit, hanging out with people that weren't good for me. It was the lowest part of my life. I didn't want to be alive. There were honestly points I never considered killing myself, but I thought, I don't want to fucking be on this earth right now, man. This isn't what I signed up for. It was terrible. And I tell you this, I know we're supposed to be talking about media professions, but like I said, fuck that. I tell you this because it's an integral part of what you become. And you sit in these rooms and we tell you that you're going to get an award for your work. You're going to get an accolade for your work. Things are going to go well after college. You're going to make money. You're going to have this wonderful life. And we don't tell you that there will be parts where you have no idea what the hell is going on. And those are far more important than the awards and the accolades. They're so much more important. Life's about the breakups, the fall downs, the getting lost, your parents getting divorced. All those crazy things you have zero control over. That's way more important than the stuff we prepare you for. You have to learn how to use those as a part of your life. These are the moments that will define you, not those other things. So when I was in USA Today, before I made all these irrational decisions, I thought, fame. You'll be as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. You will play lonely games too. Games that you cannot win because you play them against you. People see the awards. They see the job that you got. They don't see those panic attacks. They don't see those loss in your room. Right? The lonely games, you got to play them. So you go to a waiting place, and I hurt for about a year. I didn't know what was going on. I was just kind of keeping the same jobs, wasn't making any money. I was just keeping my head down and kind of going through life, going through the motions. But I moved forward. I had this bad thing happen to me, and instead of people saying, move on, I moved forward. I brought it with me, and I thought, this is a part of me now, and I'm going to keep going on with it. Like I said, I was working the same jobs. I was back at the restaurant. I'm feeling like, man, I hit a high, and then I hit a low, and now I'm just in the same space, doing the same stuff. I wasn't progressing. I didn't know what my path was going to be, and I didn't live up to the expectations I had for myself, or what guest lecturers had told me I would be. I stopped taking action. I just sat on my ass. And I waited for something to happen. You'll go down long little roads at breaknecking pace. And grind on for miles across weird, wildish space. Headed, I fear, towards the most useless place. That waiting place. And what's in the waiting place? People are just waiting. They're waiting for a train to go, a bus to come, a plane to go, the mail to come, the rain to go, the phone to ring, the snow to snow, waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow, or just everyone is waiting. You're just sitting there going, what's next? Like some of you who are sitting in this class going, God, what is going on after this? You're waiting for the fish to bite, to fly a kite for Friday night or Wednesday night, if you like dollar beers. Uncle Jake, better break, pair of pants, another chance if I had it a different way. If I had it a different way, a different chance, a different opportunity. But I don't, so I'm just waiting for it. And then I made one decision. I made a small decision on St. Patrick's Day, 2016. It's 9 a.m. in the morning, and I'm drinking Jameson, as one does on St. Patrick's Day, with the girl that I'm dating at the time, and she said something to me that sticks out in my memory so clear, even though it probably didn't even happen. She probably said, how's work going? In my head, I heard, are you just going to fucking live like this for forever, man? Are you just going to live your life looking at your toes? That's what I felt. That's what I felt. And I decided I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to start advocating for myself. So I decided to escape that waiting place. You're in the waiting place and everyone's just waiting. But no! That is not for you. It's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the right places where the boom bands are playing. And banner flapping once more, you will ride high. Ready for anything under the sky. Ready because you're that kind of guy or girl. This is the point where I usually am like, all right, you guys need to go get your vape pen or drink a White Claw or something, whatever you guys do. Shotgun a beer. Total aside, but you guys know that shotgunning a beer is like a metaphor for college, right? Yeah. Anybody know why? It goes, oh, you maybe.
Goes by quickly.
He's got it.
Probably want to do it again.
Fuck yeah.
A couple other reasons.
Oh, this definitely. He's got it. Step one, it goes by hella fast unless you're really bad at it. Just like college. Two, you do it and you're like, let's go! Woo! I'm gonna kill them in the real world. And then about 2 minutes later, you're like, no! God damn it, Brian! I have such shitty friends! And then you're like, wait a minute. About 10 minutes later, let's do it again. Let's go back. And you're like, Mom, Dad, I think I want to go to graduate school. And they're like, fuck you. You guys can use that one. So I was in that lowest low where my life was all over the damn place, and I started a journal. I started writing all these corny poems and things in it. This is one of them, but I kept this one because it turns out to be the truth all these years later. And it's framed in my house as something that I look at every single day. You can change your entire life, your circumstances, and your viewpoint with one decision in one day with patience and opportunity. One small little decision can change the course of a lot of things. And it's usually just saying, no, this isn't for me. I don't want to do something different. I want to try. So I said, I'm sitting around doing nothing. Journalism's going nowhere. My journalism, I'm not saying journalism in general. Whoops. I just decided I needed to do something else. So I figured, I know how to write. So I'll be an advertising writer. I never took an advertising class at this university. I never taken one in general. I didn't know how it worked at all. But I signed up for a recruiting service, and the recruiters got me an interview at this place called Richards and Lerma, which is a Hispanic marketing agency for the Richards Group, which is a very large advertising agency in Dallas. So I'm living in Texas, and I started freelancing for Richards Lerma, which is a pretty awesome first opportunity in advertising. But then I said, I think I want to change cities again. And I thought, Dallas isn't the biggest ad market, so I'll go somewhere else. So I had the recruiters find me a job in Boston. I went to Boston for 2 months. I did a contract there, working for Relevant 24, which was a ad agency there. I was the social media voice of the Keebler Elves. And after about 2 months, I was like, not for me. So I came back to Dallas, but I was starting to add things to my resume. I'm back in Dallas, and like anybody you break up with, including companies, when you come back, they're like, no, dude, you left us. So I came back, and Richards Lerma, that ad agency in Dallas, was like, you just left, you can't. But also, like all good relationships, they came back around a couple months later, and they're like, what are you up to? And in 2017, January, they said, we want to hire you full-time, and we're a Hispanic marketing agency, but we don't have an English copywriter right now, and avocados from Mexico. The brand just asked if you could write a Super Bowl commercial. You want to do that? Yes. So I wrote a Super Bowl commercial, and it went really well. People loved it. So I kind of became this little rising star at the agency, and they sent me to South America on a TV commercial shoot, right, to film this thing that I'd written. So I was in Dallas, and I flew up to New York for the weekend to hang out with some friends, and then the ad agency calls me, and they go, all right, we need you to go to South America right now. So I fly down to Argentina. I'm in Argentina for a week doing casting. Then we take a boat across the Rio de Plata, which is the river, or the ocean between Argentina and Uruguay. We're in Uruguay for 2 weeks shooting this big budget commercial. Then we're about to fly out of Uruguay, and we're going down the tarmac in the plane in Montevideo, Uruguay, and as we're about to take off, the jet engine gives out. And they come on and they say, yeah, it's broken. You guys are stuck here for another 48 hours. And I was like, hold on a minute. It's my birthday. I gotta get back to Dallas for my birthday party. Come on. So they said, well, we can put you in a hotel overnight. So I stayed in a hotel overnight that the airport put me up in. And that's where I got the South American bed bugs. You guys are like, when is that ever gonna come back into the story? So yeah, don't recommend it. So I stayed overnight, and I was like still trying to get back to Dallas for my birthday party. So I took a boat back across over to Argentina. I fly from Argentina to Sao Paulo, Brazil. I speak a little bit of Portuguese, so I asked the person in Sao Paulo to get me on a flight to Miami. I'm in Miami. I fly to Dallas. I go out in Dallas. I go out for my big birthday party, go crazy, get really swayzy. Wake up the next morning and I'm super hungover. I get a text from my friend. He said, hey man, Alex is gone. I said, what do you mean he's gone? He said, Alex is dead. And I said, Alex who? And he said, Alex Tizon. I said, what the fuck did you just say? He said, Alex is dead. Alex Tizon was my professor in this lecture hall 8-9 years ago. He was my hero. He was my mentor. He's the reason that I pursued writing. He meant a lot to a lot of students who have sat in this room before. To me, he was those things. To the world, he was a perfect example of getting lost, falling down, getting up, falling down. This is a guy who immigrated from the Philippines. He was a little kid, bounced around all over the country, went to U of O, worked on a fishing boat in Alaska, sold encyclopedias door to door because he couldn't afford to do anything else. And then in his 30s won the Pulitzer Prize, which is the greatest award you can win in journalism. He was an example of how to listen to people, how to care about people, how to not be what you think you're supposed to be, but to be a good person. So I flew to Seattle to be at his memorial, and I spoke on behalf of his students at his memorial. And I met his two daughters, one of which was my age, Dylan, and she became the love of my life. Weird shit happens in life, man. Weird shit. So through that tragedy, something incredible happened. I had this big fall down. Somebody reached up and said, come back up again. Life is full of these ups and downs. You get these guest lectures in here. You say, after school, you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do. And they don't talk about stuff like this that happens. Now, I'm not saying this precise story would happen to you. That'd be a fucking weird coincidence. But this kind of thing happens to you. And these things are beautiful because they push you forward. They're way more important lessons than anything else you'll learn. So she lived in Seattle, and I decided I need to go back to Seattle. But this time I was going to do it right. So I started advocating for myself in new ways. I decided, you can't just tell me I'm a copywriter worth this amount of money. I get to decide that. So I promoted myself to senior copywriter. And I only asked for jobs that were going to pay me the amount of money that I wanted. I was patient, I tried hard, advocated, learned what I was good at for 5 months, going back and forth, Seattle and Dallas. And I got a job contracting at Wonderman ad agency. So I was working on the Xbox account in Seattle. I'm up there, things are going well. After that ended, I took a full-time job with laundry service ad agency, working on the T-Mobile account where I wrote my second Super Bowl commercial. But I really didn't like that job at all. So I quit. Didn't have a plan. Trusted. The next day, Microsoft gave me a call and said, you want to come interview? I interviewed, got that job, and that's where I am today. And my life skyrocketed. I'm with this person that I'm meant to be with. I'm around my mentor's family. I'm in Seattle. I'm making more money than I've ever made before. I've reclaimed Seattle after failing there. Things are going so great. And that's when I came and did this talk for the first time. And it wrapped up nice and neat. Hey, the story finished nicely. That's not how it goes. So will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you will move mountains. So, be your name, Buxton or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai, Ali, Ben Allen, O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. Will you succeed? Will you succeed? Yes. What does that mean? What does success mean? There is not a point in which you get everything figured out. You guys heard that phrase? She's got it all figured out. What's the point? If you got it all figured out, what comes after that? You just live figured out for the rest of your life? There isn't a point where everything wraps up nicely and is finished. Unfortunately, even though this is the life story I told you about, they don't finish like movies where it's all happy at the end. It's going to keep going like this forever and always. And it's important to recognize that. So in the interest of being extremely honest, I rewrite this every time to tell you where I'm currently at in my life. Because if you see me come up here and you hear my bio, you go, damn, that guy's professor and his life's going really well. But what if it's not? What if you only see your heroes? It's like finding out that a celebrity also has a normal life. Of course they do, but if you don't see that and you mess up, you think I can never be like that. So if I come up here and I go, I have this wonderful job and I make a ton of money and everybody respects me, and you don't know anything about me, then when you have a panic attack, you fall down, you get lost, you don't think you can ever be like that. And I sat in the back of this room and thought that way. I would never wear a tweed jacket, and I don't like turtles, and I'll never be like that. I can't be that smart. Look at how fucking smart that guy is. No way. No way. And he had this happen in his life, and this happen in his life, and it's all these wonderful things. If you don't talk about those lows, you don't spend time with Peter, go talk about those lows. Then you find out you can be like that. So, when I first did this talk a year ago, I had all the notions of success. I was living with a girlfriend, we had this big apartment with a view of the lake, we bought a little kitten named Po Boy, he's the best ever. We traveled all around the world together, I was making more money than I'd ever made before. And then 2019 saw a lot of those things happen. Those rough things happen. Fell out of that relationship. Now I got split custody of my kitten. Guys, that's true, man. I was forced to confront things about myself. I had financial issues. I had to think about who I am. I didn't really realize who I was at my core. Anxiety came back into my life. I thought I pushed that away. And I did a lot of things that I regret. I started to feel lonely. I didn't feel successful anymore. And this is the point where a couple weeks ago I was writing this talk for today. And I said, I can't do this. It's not fair. It's not fair of me to come up here and say, life's going to go great. Your mind right now, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's not perfect. So I said, I need to define what success is, and that's what I did at the beginning of this presentation. What does success mean? Success is allowing the fuck-ups, the fall-downs, the mess-ups, the confusion to become a part of your story. To give yourself that permission to be in a bad place, to hurt, and to incorporate those things as part of your story rather than distancing yourself from them. So I used to think, oh, I can't believe I did that when I was 22, 23, moving across the country for this girl. I can't believe I used to have panic attacks. Oh man, that's old me. I don't know that guy anymore. No, that's still me. You're the same person all the way through. And if you forget that, if you try and have a hardship and then say, that's not me anymore, the next time you have a hardship, you're going to forget it. You have to remember that this is all part of the same story of which you were still the main character all the way through. So here are what some of my fall downs since I've left college and in the last year taught me. You can control a lot, but you can't control everything. You can't make people do certain things. You can't make people want to hire you in certain cases. You can't make people love you. I am a control freak. I make sure everything is planned out. That way, if it goes according to plan, I can control the circumstances. Some things you can't control, and the more you see a little bit of control, the more you allow the chaos to seep in a little bit and be welcoming of it. And not freak out about the plan. Your life will become easier. A private triumph is far more important than a public one. Sometimes a little victory, of which no one else would care about or would look at, is far more important than you telling people you got that internship. It's far more important than announcing that new boyfriend on Instagram. Take those little moments and appreciate when you have a small win that means something to you. Anxiety and emotional health, everybody deals with it. We all now can agree, thankfully, that everybody deals with it and that it's important, but nobody wants to talk about it. We haven't gotten there yet. And we have to, because if you're a little bit vulnerable, you'll rub off on the next person, and they'll be a little bit vulnerable. And we'll all be able to realize that we're not weird for feeling anxious. Everybody is in some way or another. And this is why social media to me is a trap. We're so misinformed, spending all our time on Instagram all day like this. You see the girl doing some freaking, yoga pose over here in Bali, Indonesia, with a ripped boyfriend. Everybody's liking that, going, oh my God, their life is so together. Or you see that dude being like, oh, new massive weight limit today, I'm ripped, like lifting weights and stuff. What you don't see behind that Instagram photo is that guy, he's lifting weights because he's insecure about something. Or the girlfriend, immediately after that photo is done, is like, God, I hate my boyfriend, take better photos of me. It's all fake. We just look at this highlight reel. Half the people in this room will watch the highlights of a sports game because they don't want to watch the whole thing. Because the whole thing can be boring sometimes. Same goes for social media. If you just look at the highlights, which is social media, and you don't see what's in between, you are misinformed. Do not put too much credence in social media. Listening with a closed mouth and asking a lot of questions is the best way to win friends. To win clients, to win jobs. A lot of people, when you're having a conversation with them, she's talking to me, and I'm going, because I have the next thing already formulated to say. And it signifies to her, I don't give a shit what she's saying right now. Just close your mouth. And when they're finished, ask a follow-up question. That's how you interview people in journalism. That's how you get clients to like you when you're advertising. That's how you find significant others that like you. Listen with a closed mouth. A lot of people forget this one, and I noticed it so much in the way I used to speak in college. And last night I was in another class and I watched this advertising pitch that they did. And they had beautiful, wonderful work that they were presenting. But they weren't confident about it. They were meek about it. So I guess that this is super relevant because I just worked hard on it. If you're not excited about it, nobody else is. You got to talk with a confident voice. And you got to smile. The smile, I can't believe that it took me 23, 24 years to figure this out. You ever go to Starbucks and they go, hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get for you today? And you say, well, I'm going to need a mocha. That's not a human interaction. Hi, how are you? I'm well, how are you? They'll look at you like, what the fuck? You just treat me like a human? Those daily interactions in which you just share a little bit of vulnerability, where you acknowledge someone's person, you have no idea how much that can be to feel seen. You have no idea what the person on the bus across from you is going through right now. Zero clue. And when they look up from their phone and their ear pods, and they make eye contact with you, don't look away. Smile and nod. That shit means so much to people. It's insane. Lastly, be wildly, inappropriately, inexcusably, strangely vulnerable. Be a dude who volunteers to stand in front of 4 people and talk about the weird shit in his life. Be open about yourself. It rubs off on other people. And to me, this man, Alex Tizon, my former professor, he's the paragon of what it meant to know vulnerability. His writing style was bearing his soul for people, telling people the hardest truths about himself, his doubts about himself. And he had a gift for seeing the vulnerability in other people, and rather than exposing it, shining light on it to make those people feel heard. Just a collection of all his stories just came out. It's called Invisible People, because that's what he wrote about. He shined a light on people who didn't feel seen, who were vulnerable, and made them feel like they had credence in this world. That is so, so valuable. And he is my mentor and my idol for that. He passed away in March 2017. 2 hours after he passed away, a phone call came in from The Atlantic, which is the most prestigious journalistic magazine in the country, to let him know that they were bumping the cover story of the editor-in-chief to put his story on the cover. And he never found out. The phone call came too late. And the story he wrote is about a woman named Yudosa Tomas Pulido, aka the Tagalog word Lola for grandmother. And in the Philippines, it's quite common to have what they call a katulong, which is someone who's a helper, or in this case, pretty much an indentured servant, or some people might think, a slave. And this woman lived with him his entire life. In Seattle, everything. She wasn't kept in leg irons or anything, but she was treated, before he took custody of her, as almost like a slave. And so his whole life he grappled with, how do I feel about this? And he told everyone about it on the cover of The Atlantic. And the story won National Magazine Award for 2017. It had the most reads of any story on the internet in 2017. It was the most engaged with, and more time was spent on that webpage than any webpage that has words on it for journalism in the history of the internet. It became very controversial. That was the most read story in the history of The Atlantic. And my homework to you guys is going to be to read this. I'm not going to check and see if you do it, but I swear to God, it will be really worth it. And I'd like to read to you this new collection that he just came out, well, he's gone, but someone collected all of his stories from Seattle Times, LA Times, The Atlantic, and here. And this is an introduction to this story called My Family Slave. And if this doesn't make you want to read it, then I don't know what will. Tomas Alex Tizon passed away in 2017 at the age of 57. He missed by hours hearing the news that would have thrilled him and ratified the central thrust of his remarkable career as a reporter, author, and consummate storyteller. The Atlantic magazine called to tell Alex that the story he was born to write about the woman who raised and nurtured and loved him under conditions that amounted to indentured servitude would be on the cover of the upcoming issue. The story of his Lola, starkly and provocatively headlined, My Family Slave, is a complicated, nuanced, and at points horrifying, and at other points touching. Here it can make you weep. Here it can make you laugh aloud. It is raw but minutely observed and beautifully written. It is a love sonnet folded within the layers of a crime story. Have you ever heard anything described that way? If that doesn't want to make you read something. A love sonnet folded within the layers of a crime story. Or maybe you find yourself asking if it's the other way around. It has a ring of truth and a certain type of painful honesty that was characteristic of Alex and his work. If you read this story, you will see what vulnerability looks like, and you will be inspired to be like that every day. It's called My Family Slave, and it's in The Atlantic. You Google that, and you'll see just how big of a deal it is. Here's a collection books. One is called Big Little Man. It's his memoir about trying to find identity as an Asian male in a very white culture in the U.S. It's an important read. And this collection that just came out, Invisible People, came out last week with all his stories in it. Now, I was supposed to talk to you today about media professions, and Ed knows that I don't do that whenever I come here, which surprised me. He keeps asking me back. We can talk about that stuff in the Q&A. But I will say, between all the ups and downs and the jokes that I've made up here, and all the sad stuff I told you that I went through, I've actually built a pretty badass career. But I talk about it second, because it doesn't take priority over the things that go on in your life. But if you looked at me this whole time, I'm actually glad that our introduction wasn't read of me. If you looked at me the whole time, and you heard all these things, you think, that guy's kind of fucking crazy. You'll see that I actually have built a career through all those ups and downs. Here's what it looks like on paper. I'm a professional writer. I've worked in journalism and advertising, communications, and speech writing. I began my career at Adidas in Portland before I moved to Dallas, where I was the sports editor of a newspaper. I've been featured in USA Today, Reuters, Yahoo, Dallas Morning News, Fox and Globe, and over 100 other syndicated newspapers. Next was a transition to copywriting. I've done TV, I've done radio, I've done print, I've done digital for ad agencies in Dallas, Boston, and Seattle. I've won national awards for accounts including Bud Light Hispanic, Xbox, Major League Baseball, Ultimate Fighting Championship, Amazon, a ton of other things. I've written 2 Super Bowl commercials for which I've won awards, and my work is aired internationally. Journalism and advertising shaped my skills in long-form narrative and public speaking and writing scripts. I'm now a senior writer at Microsoft, where I work as a speech writer, helping the executives prepare for their large speeches. And I shape global marketing campaigns. Who cares? Which was more important? Which has more value? Susan. We all know the answer. Don't worry about the resume right now. Go live your fucking life now. Thanks for your time, guys. I'll be happy to take questions, whether they're very emotional ones, or if they're about what I do now, or about tactical stuff. I know this class is supposed to be about media professions, so I usually use this time to talk about that stuff. If you want to just ask me anything, I'm wide open, and then when we are finished, I'd love for you all to come down and just have a chat. Yeah?
Yeah. Do you wish that you had studied advertising, or do you stand by being a Super J?
Can you say that one more time?
Do you wish that you had studied advertising here, or do you stand by being a Super J?
I'm glad that I did journalism for a couple of reasons. One, I don't particularly want to regret anything about my past. I think it's formative, as you've seen. 2, I think, I can't speak to how the ad school works here, but advertising in general develops quite a few formulas about how things should go. And so you come out in the real world and you have a lot of technical skills for your industry, but I think journalism teaches you about narratives and stories and working with people. And that, to me, that has way more value. You can learn the other things, right? So I'm usually the outlier in my advertising jobs that I've had, as being the only one who didn't go to ad school. And actually, it's made me an attractive candidate to a lot of jobs because they see you as being an outsider, right? They see you as having a different perspective. And then what I do now isn't so much advertising, honestly. I kind of think advertising is a bit dirty. I'm not really interested in it. I'm more so about what stands behind that advertising. So I don't write TV commercials for Microsoft anymore. I help write the things that shape the way they talk about their company mission, which is far more important to me than selling, widgets. Hope that answered your question. Yeah.
How do you sort of walk the line between like self-care and like selfishness?
Usually when people are stumped, they say, that's a good question. I am a bit stumped, but that's a very good question. I think it's an individual thing. I think it really depends. I often worry most in my life about whether I come off as arrogant, because I am so vibrant and confident and extroverted in a lot of ways. And I worry maybe I'm being a little bit too much and people think that about. I think self-awareness is key in what you just said. Is that if you have no idea that you're being a narcissist, someone will point it out, right? If you have no idea that you're doing all these things for yourself, and you're being selfish about it, and you don't surround yourself with people who will let you know. Your question was self-care, or being a little too self-indulgent, right? I think if you have people around you who are saying like, yo, I'm all good with you like staying in on a Friday because you need some time alone, but like, you can't not come to important things that matter to me. Like, you need those people around you to let you know. I think that helps you toe the line a little bit, because if you're one man, one woman on an island, you'll never know. I used to avoid all things that were self-care because I felt they were self-indulgent. I would go and do self-destructive behavior because I didn't want to feel like, oh, I'm just looking after myself. And now I'm beginning to realize in my late 20s about how important it is to look after yourself. Don't really know how to answer it in full, but my advice would be surround yourself with people who will call you out. Which is difficult, but I think worth it. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, you.
When you're in like those really deep lows, how do you find motivation to like push yourself forward and like make a life worth living?
I have the benefit of having, I don't keep a journal or a diary or anything. I know a lot of people do that so that they can look back and remember things about themselves. But I have the benefit of working in media, essentially, and that I can look back on things I've created and remember, oh yeah, I have talent. If you don't have anything to look back on, you can just wipe away everything that you've done in your memory. You feel useless now and you look back and you're like, I've always been useless. So oftentimes I'll look back at things that I've done, speeches I've written or whatever, a year or two later and I'm like, that's fucking good. Oh my God, I'm good at that. What if I go do it again? And you can kind of pick yourself up a little bit. I think when I prepared this speech and I wrote that slide about forgiving yourself successes and allowing those things to become a part of you, that is not something that I've learned until this year. This is very forward, but I just started doing therapy this year. Highly recommend. And it really makes you realize like how much you're really hard on yourself and you don't allow yourself to be sad. And so rather than being sad and going, I can't be like this anymore, I gotta go do something. Now I've gotten a lot better at being like, I'm sad. Why is that? And you can be a little more contemplative of it. And then I think thinking on it helps get you out of that rather than panicking and not wanting to feel that way. Weird answer, but yes.
So like we were just mentioning right now about like suppressing like your failures and your struggles. Like how do you balance like having that part of you but not like taking over like your mind in a sense? I don't know how to say that.
How do you not let your struggles become so important that they seem like they're over everything that you do? Yeah. Everybody likes a pretty good redemption story, right? I think I oftentimes when I'm in a bad way, I like to think, wouldn't it be pretty cool if I came out of this and then could look back on it? So when I am feeling pretty low or I'm having these struggles or I think, I can't believe that I did that and acted that way, I try to remember that if I do something that gets me out of that, that'll be an awesome story to tell, right? And I mean, I also have the benefit of literally like, this is the thing I do professionally where I talk about my story. So it's pretty easy for me to look back and be like, oh yeah, weird there, better now. Weird there, better now. But I think, even though I said how important having a story is, I think we all develop these narratives about ourselves. Like some people get told they're an introvert when they're 16, and so they just go on the next 10 years thinking they're an introvert. Someone just told you that once and you made it your story. That's not necessarily true. We like to build up stories in our minds about who we are. And a lot of people, when they struggle, think, oh, I have bad karma, I have bad luck, I'm meant to fail. I'm meant to mess good things up. And they kind of have this self-destructive, self-sabotaging identity. And I think it's trying to think, why do I have this story about myself a lot of times? Because I'll sit on my couch and I'll think, you always mess up good things, man. And then I go, who told you that? I told you that. Why did I tell you that? And you think about it a little bit more and you realize it's just a construct in your head. One decision, one day, you can change all those things. But I think it feels like the weight of the world when you're in a bad way and all those things are buzzing around you. So I always screw up. I always struggle. This is who you are. It doesn't have to be if you don't want to be.
What do you think makes the biggest impact or imprint when you are gone?
When you die? The feeling that other people have when they're in your company. They don't remember the awards, they don't remember how much money, they don't remember necessarily your attendance at all these things or whatever. I mean, I can use Alice as a perfect example. I said this at his funeral, but when you were with that person, you felt so singular and seen. The rest of the world was gone. He didn't matter. He was there for you. You mattered. And everybody remembers that about him. And that lasts for forever. It's the feeling you have when you're around people. The saddest funerals you go to are when people go, and they go, he was good. You know, he provided for his family, and he was, it matters, but it doesn't matter as much as he made me feel this way. She made me believe this thing, right? If you can have an emotional, lasting impact on how people view their world, their own world, that's far greater.
Are you gonna post this speech somewhere?
Yeah, I can send it to you guys. I'll send it to Ed and you can circulate it. I've ignored the back of the room. You probably want to be ignored, which is why you're in the back of the room. Does anybody up here? Am I missing anybody? No? Cool. Okay, well, thank you very much. After this, I'm going to put up the keyword you guys need to do your quiz or whatever it is. But please, afterwards, come down, have a chat, have a cry, give me a hug. The best experiences I've had in doing these talks are afterwards. Actually, I forgot to say this in the speech, but I want to share it. The first time I did this, there was a girl sitting right here. And afterwards, and a lot of the time when I did this, you guys were a good group, no crying. Last time there was a lot of crying. There was a girl sitting here, and the whole time she was looking right at me, just crying the whole time. It's very distracting. Just kidding, I was like, can't wait for this conversation. And she came up to me afterwards, and she said that her best friend had taken his life the week previous. And that she didn't know people hurt like that because people don't talk about it. She sat right there with 400 people around her. It didn't feel like anybody knew her or knew that struggle. So I came in here and stood at the front and did something. And that has nothing to do with me being a savior or whatever. It's the fact that how can we all not know that? How can we all be sitting around there and not know that that person's hurting and don't feel like they can share it or that other people go through that? It's so important. And she came up afterwards and told me that, and that shit changed my life. So I highly recommend, before you peace out of here today, I know it's a very churchy thing to do, but say hello to somebody next to you that you haven't talked to. Go grab a coffee with somebody, do something. Come hang out with me, yeah? And then December 12th, I don't know when you guys finish up your term here. I think finals are like the 7th through the 10th or something. But in Seattle, this book is having a book launch party. I'll be there. Alex's Tizon family will be there. So if you're from Seattle or you'll be up there at that date, hit me up. I'd love to have you come through. Yeah? Cool. Thank you very much, guys.